Let's have a frank discussion about HTML, what I like to call the bones of the World Wide Web. Now, caution, technical information is about to be disseminated. Please attempt to stay alert at all times. What does HTML stand for? I doubt if there's anybody under the sound of my voice that doesn't know this, but let's go over it. HTML stands for hyper, as in it needs medication. It's real hyper. Text-based, and it's a markup language. Hypertext markup language. There are a lot of different types of languages. You have scripting languages like JavaScript. You've got this markup language. You've got COBOL and RPG. There are different ways that we put things together to get a computer to do what we want it to do. What markup language is, it's been around for a very, very long time. It's composed basically of elements. And those elements are tags surrounded by angle brackets. We've all seen them, like that's a tag. HTML tag. They normally, but not exclusively, but they'll normally come in pair, an opening and closing tag. So you might see something like this. The P opening tag, the text between it, and the closing tag on the end. We haven't worked a lot in this in Dreamweaver, and we're not going to. This is a class on how Dreamweaver works for us and helps us build code, not a class on how we do the code from scratch. That's a whole other thing. As a matter of fact, you can go out to Infinite Skills and get some really good lessons on HTML if you want to. But I do think we need to stop and talk a little bit about what's going on here. Now, there is something else that goes on, which I call the browser connection. The browser, of course, is responsible for displaying the web page. And it does that by interpreting HTML. Think of it this way. I'm working in Microsoft PowerPoint to do what I'm doing right now. There's a difference between sitting here and enjoying this in spending the days and years that it took to write the thousands and tens of thousands of lines of code that make this program easy. The HTML, we never see the HTML. The browser looks at the HTML, you know this, and it uses those tags to display the content of the page. So if you've got something like this, with a P and a B and an I in the center, that's paragraph, bold, italic, center, and then you close them off on the other side, you've got this as text between them, it would look probably something like this. It is the responsibility of the browsers, like Microsoft and Apple, to maintain compliancy with the current version of HTML. And they do that a lot by going to sites like the www.w3.org. That's the World Wide Web Consortium. If you've ever wanted to know a lot of the white paper stuff about the internet, even things like handicap standards and all that stuff, you can get all of that out here. It's a good site to kind of, write down, bookmark it. You're going to use it, I'm sure. The future, of course, is amazing. I doubt if anybody can predict what's really going to happen. We're currently working with HTML 4.01, and there's what's called a transitional or strict. I'll talk about that in a second. We have done probably most of the pages that we've done in this series so far in XHTML, extensible hypertext markup language, and again, there's that transitional and strict thing going on. You might see a statement looking something like this if we're using strict. I've got that in blue. So HTML4, strict DTD. Strict doesn't let you get away with anything. Transitional does. And we've been working with XHTML transitional most of the time. That allows me to use even depreciated tags. But if you go strict, you can't do any of that. You've got to close your statements off. You've got to write the code exactly the way it's supposed to be, because that's what that's saying. So when the browser sees that, it knows exactly what you're doing, and it helps to interpret the code based on this DTD document description statement. That's how all of this works. Now, if you want to make sure your pages are compliant, we will do that in Dreamweaver in a couple of chapters to come. But there is another place on the World Wide Web called Validator, and it's at the W3 site that we just mentioned, and it's validator.w3.org. When you go there, your site has to be already out on your server, but you can actually put the site out there and they'll check it out for you. You say, well, okay, if I can do this in Dreamweaver, why would I want to do it here? Well, understand, they can keep up with everything to the very second that things change. Dreamweaver requires updates if it's going to make changes. So I would say we're going to use both. We'll check it out with Dreamweaver later, and then we'll see actually what Validator says about it. So that's all for the boring stuff. What I want to show you in Dreamweaver is just a couple of the code features that, if you're like me and you like to tinker, makes life a whole lot easier. So let's get into the program.